Peace everyone, Unmask Art here, and welcome back once again to a live soft pastel tutorial. Last week we did a safari landscape, and this week I decided to change it up and do a cute little fox, do some life. So hopefully you guys will enjoy the tutorial, and I have the line art and reference photo for this particular fox over on my Patreon page. I have the link in the description. It is free, so don't worry about that. I also have the link to all the products that I'm using today. First off, I am going to be using the same pastels that I used last week, which is the Rembrandt soft pastels. And then I'm also going to be using the Carbothello, the 60 set of Carbothello pastel pencils. Other than that, I'll be using that blending brush that I also used last week. So yes, let's go ahead and get started. So you can see here that I am working on white, and if you have a look at the reference photo, you'll notice that the background is essentially white. However, I didn't want to leave it pure white, and I certainly didn't want to leave it just the plain paper. So what I have here is, you can see I have my sketch laid down, and then I also have a piece of frisket laid over top of it. This is called frisket. Sometimes it's referred to as masking film, whatever it's called in whatever part of the world you are living in. But so I just cut out the simple shape of my fox here, and this is a technique that I've used a number of times on pastel mat, and it works quite well with pastels, which was surprising to find out. I kind of just experimented with it last year, and it actually works really well with pastels, and it helps put in the background of your main subject and avoiding those kind of halo effects that you usually get around your main subjects. So I decided to incorporate this today, so I just wanted to briefly mention that and briefly mention what I'm using and how I'm using it. One of the things that I did with this particular cutout of my fox is, you can see my sketch here goes beyond the masking film. And the reason I did that is because the background, it lays there, and then the fur is laying over top of the background, and there's gaps in the fur where you can see the background and stuff. So instead of trying to cut every single strand of hair into my masking film, because that would be impossible and irritating, I just cut at the very bottom of each strand of hair, and I can fill in that information by drawing it later on, even over top of the layers that I'm going to put on the background. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the things that I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this really light ivory color. It appears white, but it's slightly ivory, and I'm just going to put some of this in the background, just a nice layer of it. And I'm not adding any new details or anything like that to the background. I just wanted to separate the actual drawing from the paper itself. So we have a really nice looking border once we peel off the tape. And if you remember from last week, peeling off the tape is just about the most satisfying part of working with pastels. So many of you commented on last week's live pastel tutorial that you would love to see these tutorials more often. So like I said, if you guys let me know that you wanted to see more of these live pastel tutorials, I would be happy to do it, because I really wanted to do it in the first place, but only if you guys wanted it. And you guys made it very obvious to me that you wanted more, so thank you for that, making that decision much easier on my part, and showing your support. So again, same holds true. If you guys like these pastel tutorials, and if you like this pastel tutorial, make sure you give a thumbs up on the video so that I know, and I will continue doing them. I also want to say that if you have any recommendations for what you'd like me to do in pastels, feel free to drop a comment after the live stream. Leave a comment there, and I will consider whatever subject you guys come up with, whether it's a landscape or some kind of creature or animal. Just let me know, and I will happily oblige. Let me try to catch up with the chat and say hello to everybody. Chrissy, Hildy, I see you guys. Jody, Doodle Art, Tracy, Vignac, good to see you again. Renate, good to see you again as well. Christine. Already have my first question. You missed the stream with the Rembrandts. How do you like them compared to the Faber-Castell? I like them a lot. One thing that I kind of don't like is I don't like this cylindrical shape, but it's okay. It doesn't bother me that much. But they are super soft. I really, really like how soft they are. They feel like butter in my fingers, and they feel really nice to just hold. I just like to hold them in my hands because they feel so nice, which I kind of gushed about on the last stream. But as far as color intensity and quality, they don't seem to be any better or any worse than the Faber-Castell. So either brand I can definitely recommend up to this point. They both work very well, and I'm very pleased with them. Okay, now that I laid down some ivory, I'm going to lay down a little bit of light gray. And the only reason I'm doing this is much, much darker than I want the background, but I just want to add a little bit of value to the background in general. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this gray right over top of the ivory. And then I think I'm going to add just a little bit of blue as well. See, this is why I don't like the cylindrical shape. They don't want to go on flat, as flat as the rectangular prism shapes of the Faber-Castell. But once you kind of wear a side down a little bit, you get a little bit better flat stroke to it, but it's not the most ideal shape in my opinion. I would prefer, if it wasn't going to be like perfect cylinders, to have almost a slightly tapered edge on both sides, so it's kind of rounded like that. I think that would be a little bit better shape, kind of like the Unison pastels. Those ones, a little bit more natural looking shape, but they're still good. They're still good. Still like them. So I'm darkening up the background a little bit, and then I'm going to just take white and go right over top of it. And then just blend it so that it's nice and soft. But before I do that, I do want to add a little bit of color to it. So I'm going to take this real light blue. I'm just going to add a little bit of blue to it to give the background some interest. The reason I'm choosing blue here is because our fox is nice and orange. There's a lot of orange in our fox, and as I mentioned last week, the complement to orange is blue. So I want to incorporate it into the background just a tiny bit, and it might seem like a lot right now, but once I go over this with white, it will make more sense. So I just want to add a little bit of blue to create some visual interest between the contrasting colors. Alright, now I'm going to grab the white. Oh, hello Stephanie, Selena, and Olivia. Good to see you guys here. Alright, so coming over top of all those colors with just regular white now. And I'll probably blend this out and do another layer of white just to lighten it even more. But now our paper is not going to be just plain paper. I was kind of wondering whether or not I was going to take this route or not and fill in all this background. But I really like the look of the final product when you have a nice clean border around the edges. And I'm afraid that if I just left it plain paper, it wouldn't be as visually interesting. And besides, this doing a background, even as simple as just, adding a few colors and then going over it with white to help differentiate it from the plain untouched paper, gives you the chance to do something like add some of the complementary blue into the background. So you don't have to do this. You can skip right ahead to just filling in your sketch of the fox and then doing a little bit of drop shadow down here at the bottom. But I decided to go this way. I also want to mention that today is my wife's birthday, so I want to take a moment to just say happy birthday to her. She's at work right now while I'm streaming, but every once in a while I know she tunes into the live streams and listens to me when I'm streaming, so if she is listening, I wish her a happy birthday. I look forward to her coming home where I have things to give her. Alright, let's go ahead and do a bit of blending, but you know what? Instead of doing all the blending with this, I'm actually going to take a larger sponge. I think I'm going to take this one because it's kind of like a finger shape. Yeah, it's literally a finger. And I'm just going to use this bigger sponge. And this sponge here is just like the sponges here. It's the same brand. The Pastel brand of sponges, and you usually buy them. I bought these all in a set, these sponge here, and I want to mention that what's really great about these sponges is not like, even though they get super dirty when you use them, it's not like it's a one-time use. I have had no problem just simply using some regular hand soap and water to clean the sponges. And as you can see here, it does stain the sponge, but the color doesn't come off. I've already tested this actually on the paper before the stream. Even though it's like black and red there and super green and black here, I washed this one probably twice by now, and it still gives me a nice clean blend. So all is well with the sponges. Thank you, everyone. I will let Anna know that you all wished her a happy birthday, if she is listening to the stream, and of course when she gets home. I'm going to try to not rush this piece too much for the sake of everyone's learning, of course, but at the same time, I want to try to get this done before she gets home from work. So kind of a double-edged sword. The background's not going to take too long. I'm going to do another layer because I can still see there's quite a bit of texture in the background, and that's simply because there wasn't enough of the pastel to blend out smoothly. So you'll notice, you'll get that from the layers. If you don't add enough layers, then it will just it will leave a texture. The other thing I want to mention about working with this frisket or masking film is you'll notice that I'm always trying to work from the edge, never brush towards the edge of your masking film, because it will just peel it right up. It's very, very low tack, but it makes it really easy to reposition it. If you lay it down wrong the first time, you can actually just peel it up and reposition it a couple times before it totally loses its tackiness. But it has the perfect amount of stickiness to it. It almost feels like it sticks to this paper via static electricity, the way that it peels up and stuff, and kind of just attracts itself to the paper when you're laying it down. Alright, so time for another layer. And you know what, I think I might... no, you know what, I'm just going to go to white. No, actually, I'll go to ivory first. So I'll go back to the first color, the ivory color there. Just do a nice layer of this ivory. Once we finish the background, I will peel up my masking film here, and we'll start on the real part of this project here. I was really excited about all the positive response that I got from last week's pastel tutorial, that I almost immediately started searching for another picture for this week's pastel tutorial. And at first I was just looking at landscapes again, and I thought, you know what? I'm always doing landscapes with pastels. I've only really done like 2 or 3 wildlife with pastels. So I decided, you know what? Let's do some wildlife. So that's what we're doing. And if you want to see more animals, just let me know which animal you want me to do next. Now I'm grabbing, this is just the plain white now, and I'm just going over, I'm kind of focusing it up here around this area because I want to create a subtle glow of light in this corner. So I'm just making this general area a little bit lighter by adding more white to it. So I'm a bit heavier with the white up here, and then I'll just kind of add a little bit down there. I won't even go down there. Alright, let's do some more blending here. See if we can't get this background nice and soft. I don't want any lines showing or texture. I want minimal texture at best in the background. I want all the attention brought to the fox. Yes, the masking film, Chrissy, is definitely a must-use at least once. You know, find a project to test it out, give it a shot. You know, it's a lot of fun. If you enjoy working with pastels, I think you'll really enjoy working with masking film and just finding creative ways to incorporate it into your work. If you haven't already, about 6 months ago or so, I did a pastel piece, and it's a perfect circle. It's all the pastel work is done in a perfect circle, and the way that I did that was I cut out a circle from my masking film, laid it down on my pastel mat, and then just colored whatever I wanted inside the circle. And when I peeled it up, it left a really nice frame, perfect circle pastel piece. And I don't think that there's really any better way, or any other way for that matter, to do such a pastel painting. And so you can create, you know, really unique frames using the masking film. You can also use it like I'm using it here, where I'm protecting my main subject to eliminate any halo effect around the edges. Because sometimes working around your main subject, you don't want to color over the whole thing and then try to add in the detail on top of multiple layers of pastel. As forgivable as pastel is when you're working with it, you know, there is a limitation to how much layering the paper will take. So this just helps eliminate that need to work around all your details and things like that. There we go. I think that's very nice for the background. And there's a bit of cast shadow under the fox, so I'm actually going to add that now. Just a small indication of the cast shadow coming off the fox by adding just that light gray. Maybe slightly darker gray. So I'm just doing a small amount now because I can correct it and do the rest once I actually have the fox drawn in. And I'll just blend that out. So there's just a little bit of it there showing up. The other thing that I wanted to do was add a little bit of sparkle because the fox is laying in snow. And so the snow is kind of has that crystally, sparkly look. The same technique that I used last week to create some of those little flowers and last little bit of detail in the foreground of the safari landscape. I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and put some dust here and just create a little bit of texture in the foreground here, bring the image in focus more. So I'm just going to give the snow a little bit of texture. This is part of the reason that I also wanted to keep the foreground just a slightly darker grayish white than up here. There we go. I'm not going to do any more than that. And then just take your piece of glassine paper. There we go. There. Now we just have some subtle interest of details, so it's not so plain. Oh, the focus is changing. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I forgot to focus my camera. Usually I lock the focus. Thank you, Chrissy. I'm glad that you mentioned that, and I caught the comment early. So now we shouldn't have any problems with the focus. Yeah, everything should be good. So now we get to peel up our little fox here. And you can see just how clean the edges are from this masking film. And I'm just going to toss that. So you can see that the edges of the masking film are very, very clean. Looks really good. Now is the fun part. Let me get my first color here. I think I'm going to go for this. It's kind of peach color, this light peach color. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to build up my color and my layers first before concerning myself with any amount of detail. So I have this peach color, and this peach color is kind of the base of the fur. A lot of the highlights appear to be this color. So where they kind of show up the most, like around here in the face, a little bit on the inside of the ear here, and then a patch of it on the back right here. That's where I'm going to focus this color. One of the things that I'm not going to concern myself too much right at the moment is my direction. I'm not really going to be too focused on the direction that the fur is going, because I'm going to blend all this out and it's going to be completely soft anyway, and you're not going to notice the texture of the fur at all. When it comes to working on wildlife and creating fur, it's a lot like when we created the grass in the safari landscape. It's all about building up layers of texture, where the bottom layer is kind of just, you're not concerned about the texture yet, you're more concerned about the placement of values in color. And then you do a base layer of texture, but you blend it out and you soften it, and then you lay more texture over that, you blend it out softly, and then you keep building that texture until finally you have a depth in the grass, and in this case we're going to have the depth in the fur. So I'm just going to fill in a lot of information here with my colors and then do some blending. And I'm just kind of sketching in where most of the fur is non-white. So like down here around the mouth, it has the light whitish gray tan color, but everywhere else it's kind of that orange. And so I'm gonna just kind of work around those colors first until I have the foundation of my fur laid in. And when it comes to when it comes to doing wildlife and doing just about anything with pastels, really, the main focus should be on color choice and contrast. Don't get too hung up on the details too early, because you'll blend them out anyway. At least you should be blending them out. Instead, you want to focus on getting the right colors and getting the right contrast. That's what's going to help make your animals look alive and realistic, and that's what's going to help your landscapes look fun and inviting. Oh, thank you, Elise. I'm glad you think it looks cute. Yes, that's partly the reason I chose this reference photo. I thought the fox looked very peaceful, and it suits my personality. Especially falling asleep in the snow. That sounds like a dream. Alright, now that I have this color laid out, I'm going to switch to a slightly darker color, and let's see which one would be better. I'm trying to think of whether or not this one. Let me see what this looks like. That looks like my third color. Let me try this one. It's a bit too bright. Oh, this one. I think this one. Yes, this is the winner here. Alright, so this is like a clay brown, like a desaturated clay brown, I guess. And I'm just going to come in here and start building up some of my values now, and laying out where some of the details start to come in, some of my darker colors and the things like that. We're going to do a lot of the details with the Carbothello pastel pencils. So with these, I'm much more focused on just getting my colors laid out. Where you see a lot of this white kind of coming in here, where the fur is doing, there's a lot of colors in the fur, in the face here. I'm kind of ignoring that, because a lot of those white strands of hair can actually be penciled in with my other colors, in which case that's what I am planning on doing there. So if you're wondering like why I'm avoiding that, or I'm not putting in the white there, it's because I plan on doing that on a different layer. Of course, if you guys have any questions, you can always ask as well. So if you see me doing something that you're unsure as to why I'm doing it, feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer the question for you. Just kind of roughly sketching in the changes in the fur color. Again, not worrying about any detail per se, any particular details, just laying out the different colors. You can see in the reference photo there's kind of this X that happens right here, and it's from the different colors of fur from the ears and the hair bunching up together, creating kind of that wrinkle in the fur right on the back of the neck there. So it kind of creates this X shape. Alright, so I'm going to put that color aside. I think, what was that first color? Okay. Kind of organizing my colors here a little bit so I know exactly which colors I used. And then I think this was the color that I wanted to use next. Yeah. So bringing in some of the oranges now. That might actually be too bright. Let me try this one. That one still seems too bright. No, I'm going to use this one. Yeah. The slightly less bright one. Just bring in a little bit of these oranges. Anytime I work with pastels, it's always trial and error. Kind of working out the colors, adding a little of each color until I kind of get the mixture that I want. Because a lot of this stage of the drawing process is just mixing your colors on the paper. And when you have such a limited amount of experience with pastels, you'll find yourself experimenting more and more every time you use them. But like I said, a lot of the detail will come in with the pencils. What brand of masking film am I using? To be honest with you, I don't know. There was only one brand that I could find online, and I just went with that. And I don't know what the brand is actually called, so I cannot help you there. Sorry. It's whatever's on Jackson's Art Supply. I can assure you of that. I bought the big, huge roll of it. So I have enough masking film to last me a really, really long time. Alright, so there's that color. Now getting into my darker browns, I'm kind of thinking this one here might be the color I want. Maybe not. Let's try this one. This one looks a bit more red. Possibly. Try this chocolate one. No, I think this. So I think the second one. Yeah, second one is the one I want. I'm going to come in here and start adding in some of the shadows. Just like our sky in last week's tutorial, the fox is going to take a little bit of time to kind of start to show through, so you can see my vision. Let's put some of this in the ears here. And let's do the ear outline a little bit. Oh, and then this paw over here has a little bit of this darker brown. And of course the eyes. And its mouth here. It's always great to play with mediums, that way you learn new techniques. Yes, definitely agree. I love getting into a new medium. And pastels has been one of the most rewarding of the new mediums that I've tried out. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and blend this first layer out, even though I still have quite a bit of the paper showing through, but I just want to see how the color is laying down. See where I need to mix things. Try to get these base layers done quickly, and then we can grab our pencils and start with the fun details. It will probably start to look like a fox much more once I blend this layer out. It will have a softness to it that gives it more of a fur-like look. A lot of the value will also come from the detail stage with the pencils as well, so you don't have to spend too much time with the base layer using the regular soft pastels. You can switch to the pencils pretty much as soon as you want, but getting good base layers down does help speed up the process when you do finally get to the pencils, because then you don't have as much space to fill in. There we go. So you can see that I can go a little bit darker on the face in some of these areas here and just bring in a bit of that reddish brown, especially around the eyes a little bit. So I'm just going to bring in a few touches, not a lot, because when I blend it out, I can spread it around very easily. So I'm just going to do that a little bit around the eyes here. My sponge is getting eaten alive by this paper. Alright, so that has the about the right values. Some darkness here, kind of creating that X shape a little bit. Right here at the base of the ear as well. And then of course inside the ear, don't want to forget about blending that out. That though is not nearly as important as the rest of the body. Yeah, let's see, this foot over here kind of coming through. Alright, let's add another layer of this dark brown right in the shadow. Get good coverage, maximize our color, maximize our value. It's always important, because when you blend it, it lightens it up quite a bit. And you don't have to do this with two hands. I just like to make use since I have two hands. So, just didn't want you worrying. This technique is very doable with just one hand. Alright, let's see. Now I need to bring in some oranges. Some brighter orange. And I'm not quite sure. I'm going to try this one. That is the one. Look at that. That is the one. So there's quite a bit of this orange coming through, highlighting the fur right in this area. So I should have definitely cleaned my brush here. So let me do that really quick. Got too much of that dark brown, and I just use a little piece of tissue to kind of tap it, and then you can use the tape on the side to test your brush to kind of clean it up. I think that's better. It's not ruined. Alright, what's that orange I was using? This one here. Let's just add some more of that in there. Get rid of that dark brown. And let's add some of that orange down here, bring that shadow to life a little bit. Maybe a little bit right on the inside, highlight that shadow. Let's see, where else we got some of this orange. The orange here is not as bright. It's actually kind of yellowish. So I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of the orange, of this particular orange, right in this kind of X shape. And at the base of the ear here. Well, maybe a little bit over here as well. There's some orange popping up right there. And then, of course, around the eyes, there's a lot of orange going on here. Right there. Just kind of tap it in there. Alright, maybe just bring in a tiny bit so it's not so brown. And let's see. What other color? Oh, that yellowish. We need a little bit of that yellowish color coming in, and I think it might be this one. Yeah, this is the one. That's the one. Just a more yellowish orange color. I made the color palette on the reference photo. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the stream, the line art for this, along with the reference photo, I have available. You can download it on my Patreon page. It's free, so you don't have to worry about paying for anything. But I always add like a little color palette to help you select your colors a little bit easier. But I want to mention that when you're working on anything, there's just no way that I can show you every color that's happening in the piece, because otherwise I'd have a reference photo with like 500 squares of slightly different colors. And a lot of this has to do with mixing the colors. So just keep that in mind when you use the reference photo and you're using the color palette that I created on the reference photo as a guide. Just remember that it's just a guide, and it's not a rule or anything like that. It's more just to help you selecting kind of the base colors, and that's what it is. It's just meant to select and show you what the base colors are overall. How am I liking the new pastel sticks? I like them quite a bit. Thank you, Wendy. Yes, they are nice to use. Again, not a huge fan of the cylindrical shape, but other than that, they're still very, very nice. Alright, now I'm going to use some light gray to start blocking in a bit of the lighter shadows here around the face. This will help give the fox the lighting around its cute little chin here and its nose. Now the light is hitting on this side, so to create that lighting effect, everything here needs to be a shade darker or more. So just keep that in mind. Need to add just a bit of white there. Actually, I think I'm going to use kind of a cream color instead. And then white. Oh, you're dying to try the pastel mat? Well, I think once you finally do try it, you'll definitely enjoy working with it, that is for sure. It is definitely a pleasure to work with. It's just a really friendly paper, and when it comes to working with pastels, it's just a must paper to use. Even if you don't make it your predominant paper, you'll always enjoy working on it, because I also like the UArt sanded paper. That's also a fun one to work with. Alright, I'm going to add some of the light cream color to the ears here, around the edges a little bit, where the fur starts to change colors, kind of transitions into a bit of white. Just going to feather that fur out a little. Let's see, I'm gonna grab, I guess I'll grab the ivory color, a bit of the ivory color, cover up the paper a bit more. I think I'll add some ivory down here in this part of the fur. Put that color away. So you can start to see the foxes, starting to come to life a little bit just by having the right contrast and colors kind of coming into the image. I'm going to take my dark gray now and just kind of block in the nose. I'm going to carefully do this with this. I wouldn't recommend using the large pastel to do this. I would recommend just doing it with the pencil, but whatever. I'm just gonna block in the nose a little there. I think that grounds the fox in the image much more better. Can I give tips for beginners when using soft pastels? Absolutely. In fact, I have a video that covers 5 particular tips that I think beginners, it resonates really well with beginners. It's 5 tips. Is it 5 tips? Yeah, it's 5 tips for soft pastels for beginners. But the best tip that I think I can give you is just go for it. Grab the pastels and just color, because there is no tip better than experience. Experience far exceeds any technique, any tip anybody could ever give you. You could read every book about drawing, pastels, oil painting, acrylic painting, colored pencils. You could read every single book in the world, but if you've never actually done it, you'll never know how to do it. So just grab the pastels and give it a try. I also have a Intro to Pastel course that I sell on my website. I have the link to that in the description as well. So if you do better with the video type tutorials, the Intro to Pastel course is $25, and it's about 6 hours long, and I take you through 5 projects. I show you how to do skies, I show you how to do water, trees, even a little bit of wildlife. A lot of people in the chat right now have actually done my pastel course, so if anybody that's in the chat right now that has done my pastel course, go ahead and give people your opinion on the course, because I've only ever had very good feedback on the course, even from more experienced people that wanted to try the course out. Anyway, next question is, how does the UR800 compare to Pastel Matte? Well, I like the smoother 800. I like the 800 grit when doing pastels, and I would say the comparison is only what the paper feels like and the finished outcome. So I think when you put all the layers down and blend out on the pastel mat, you actually are left with a texture that looks like the original texture of the pastel mat. It just looks like it's colored. Whereas on the UArt paper, I find that because it's sandpaper and you're kind of filling in all the texture, as opposed to, I don't know how pastel mat works, but it's magic. But the sandpaper is a little bit more intuitive in the sense that you're grinding off part of the pastel and it's sticking to the tooth of the paper, and you're filling in all that gap of the paper. And so what you're actually left with when you're working on the UArt paper is this really smooth, almost velvety texture of the pastels, and it looks really, really great. It looks really great. It's only a mild difference between the two papers in that sense, but it does kind of make me lean towards the UArt paper. The only problem with the UArt paper is if you don't mount it on a board, it curls. That's why I don't use it nearly as much, because it curls when it's just by itself. All right, let's see here. I think I need to add just a bit more color. I'm going to add kind of a purplish tint to this shadow real quick, because I feel like there's some purple coming in here. So I'm going to add a little bit of purple and maybe a bit darker brown, and the deepest part of those shadows right in here. And just to maximize that contrast, because it's all about maximizing the contrast. Alright, now I'm going back to the original cream color here, and I just want to cover up the paper a little bit more where I left some gaps there, where the paper is still showing through a bit more. So I'm just going to fill in those gaps. That way when I switch to the pencils, I don't have as much work to do. So enough of that. Let's switch to our second color that we did, which was kind of the clay color. Just add a little bit detail in here. I'm going to do some blending before switching to the pencils, so it will soften up all this texture that I that it might appear as though I'm putting in. I'm not really trying to go for any detail right now. Not yet. I'm going to leave that to the pencils. If you can imagine trying to put in detail with these cylindrical shapes, it's essentially futile. So don't try too hard. Never try too hard when it comes to pastels. I think that's one of my favorite things about pastels, is that they are so friendly. They're just the most friendly of all mediums, in my opinion. They're so forgiving. They're very kind to you, I can assure you. So if you've never used them, or you're new to them, then just remember how friendly pastels are. Oh, thank you, Wendy, so much for the donation. I think you might only be the second person that's ever used the super chat option to donate to me while I'm on a live stream. So thank you. I really, really appreciate that. And I'm glad that I'm glad that you enjoy the job that I am doing. There's a little bit of highlight down here, so I'm going to switch back to that light cream color, and I'm just going to put in a little bit of this here, where there's a little bit of highlight on the fur, right in that area. And what was that orange that I used? I think it was this. I'm going to add some more orange streaks kind of coming through here on the forehead. Just a little bit. When I blend it out, it will soften that a bit, but just want to add a little bit there, a little bit down here, kind of curling around the face. And then that dark brown, add a little bit more. There we go. Alright, let's blend out now. Start with the lighter colors, of course. So let me just blend out these light peach colors. And then I'll switch to the slightly darker colors and the brighter colors. Let's see here. Let's go over here and do these grays. Let's get rid of that gray a little bit. A bit too much gray right there. So just kind of blend that into the rest of the colors. Sometimes I can't tell if it's the dust from the pastel or yeah, you can maybe see that this sponge has seen its better days. It's starting to wear out pretty well. And the funny thing is, I don't press real hard. In fact, I don't press at all when I'm blending. I'm really being quite gentle with the paper and this brush. It just you underestimate the coarseness of this paper, because to your finger it's actually quite soft, and it's not as scratchy as the UArt sanded paper. This sanded paper is kind of a misleading name for UArt paper, because it is just literally sandpaper. So yeah. Alright, let's blend out this white fur here. That's actually not white at all. It's more of a gray tone. Get some of those details in there. There we go. And let's do some of this orange here that we added in. Just a touch of that orange. And I think we did some right here as well. Now, do that darker color that I added. Added a little bit of that dark brown just in those areas there. When it comes to doing fur that has a lot of like white highlights on it, like this fox does, especially right here in the face, if you overall do the fur just a few shades darker, then it makes it easier to pencil in those white highlights, because you can pencil those white highlights in over the slightly darker color and they tend to show up a lot more. So don't be afraid to cover those brighter white areas with a darker shade of color, particularly the color that occurs underneath the white fur. So in this case, right here on the forehead, it's this cream color that happens right underneath the white fur. So, all right, let's fill in this ear a little bit more. Just like that. All right, I think we have a really good foundation to make the transition over to pencils. Yeah, I don't think there's really much base coloring necessary for this fox here. So now we get to work with the Carbothello pastel pencils. And important tool, glassine paper. I'm going to start right here on the nose just so I can get it done and out of the way. So let me grab this medium, and I'm going to grab this dark gray first. I'm going to grab this dark gray. This specific color is 708, just in case you're using the same pencils and you want to know the exact color that I'm using and when I'm using it. Try to make that as easy as possible. It's something that I do over on my Patreon page. So for those of you that are new to my channel and don't know about my Patreon page, every Friday I do a live tutorial very similar to this, but a bit more detail. Probably asking yourself, how much more detail could you get than a live tutorial? Usually the projects are a bit more advanced and they take a span of weeks to complete because I only stream once a week. And yeah, the last project that we did I think took 3 weeks, but I've had projects take as long as 5 weeks to complete. Pastel painting is a bit quicker than colored pencils or painting or anything like that. So usually these streams can easily just take one day. So that's why I'm doing it over here instead of Patreon. Alright, let's get some black now. Put in these nostrils real quick. Make our nose nice and realistic. Let's just finish off the nose. Let's not have to worry about it later on. So just putting in the nostrils now. Let's see, there's a bit of dark spots up here on the top of the nose. A little bit of darkness kind of coming in on this side. Alright, let's switch to a medium gray now. Do a little bit of highlighting. Have you tried blending with the silicone color shapers? I think that's what these are. I call it a sponge, but I'm pretty sure these are silicone. Oh, wait, no. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about these. Yes, I have tried blending with it. I haven't quite found a. Let me give it a shot with this nose here. I haven't really found an application with these blenders that I've enjoyed. So I don't. I that's probably the second time I've actually ever tried to use them. But yeah, I've just never really gotten into using them. I think my wife had some because she works with clay, and she uses them for obvious reasons. She works with clay. Alright, let's switch back to that dark gray now. Have I tried colored pencils on UArt paper? Was it UArt paper? Was it UArt paper? Yes, I did. It was UArt paper. I was trying to remember which sandpaper I used, and it was UArt paper. And I did a live stream of it. So there is a live stream of me testing out colored pencils on sanded paper. And then what did we do? And then over on Patreon, I actually did a like a 2 or 3 week long tutorial that utilized sandpaper, and it was really fun. And for the patrons that had never used sandpaper before, really enjoyed trying it. And I enjoyed trying it as well because it was new to me as well. And yeah, sandpaper, everything that you imagine sandpaper doing with colored pencils, the opposite actually happens. You would imagine that it would like ruin your pencils and it would eat them up like super quick, but the truth is the complete opposite happens. You would think that it would be hard to blend or hard to get like things smooth, but the complete opposite is true. Using sandpaper, using colored pencils on sandpaper actually makes it more like pastels, actually. It basically turns your colored pencils into pastel pencils, except you blend wet with the solvent, and it is just so fun to work with. It's really great, so I definitely recommend it. If you have never tried, then definitely give it a try, because it is 100% worth it. Alright, let's grab some highlight color here, and I think I'm going to go for this. Do some little highlights on my nose here. And basically what I've been doing, I haven't been doing a lot of talking in regards to what I'm doing. Basically what I've been doing here is just kind of shaping the nose with a series of grays that come in the Carbothello pencils. Let's see, my primary, I used black, I used the 708 and the 726. So those are the colors that I used, and I just highlighted with a cream color. And I'm looking for white. Oh, there it is. So let's add a nice bright highlight right here on the nose. And down here. And over here. Trying to get this highlight right here nice and bright. And actually, if I can get a corner of this, there, and then wherever I made a slight mistake with that, I can just cover it with my pencil. There. I think the nose is done. I can quit playing with the nose. Anyways, let's see, which color should I use? I think This is a color that I want to use here. What is this? This is the 680. And I'm going to start now. Direction matters. Pencil direction and stroke length matters because I'm going to start adding in the details of the fur now. Again, the color I'm using is 680, and I'm just going to start drawing in the texture. Now, I'm not looking at my reference photo and drawing like the very particular any particular strand of hair. The importance here is direction and stroke length. So for the fur that is right here on the face, it is very short and it fans out. So it goes straight up here, it fans that way and fans that way. So I need to continue that pattern with this pencil, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. And you'll notice that I'm constantly doing this. It happens very quickly, but I want to point it out because this keeps my tip of the pencil very sharp, because every pencil stroke is actually sharpening it. There is no pastel dust. I don't see any. Oh, do you guys hear me blowing onto my painting here? Blowing the dust away? There is like the smallest, teeniest, tiny amount of dust. I've controlled it quite well up to this point. But it still bothers me, so I blow it away. And I don't usually recommend doing that because it's very easy to spit on your piece. And for those of you that have experienced a lot of live streams with me, all of my pieces have a bit of my DNA on them because I talk while I'm drawing, and I always spit accidentally on my work. So as the fur comes out here, you can see from the reference photo that it starts to get longer. So proportionally to the length of hair, my pencil stroke equally gets as long. So for the longer strands of hair, I need to add longer pencil strokes. This is where the fox is really going to start to come to life. Once I start maybe on my third or fourth layer of fur texture here. And with some really good base colors, and I feel like we have some really nice base colors down already. This process can either be really long or really short. And depending on how realistic you want to go, I'm going to go as realistic as I can in the amount of time that I'm giving myself, because I just realized I'm already really far behind than where I projected to be at this hour. I just realized my wife got off work 11 minutes ago, and I have a lot of things that I need to do, or that I needed to do before she got home to prepare for her birthday. So, aside from the gifts that I got her and the card that I made her, an apology will have to be another gift for today. Again, the fur starts to get a little bit longer here, so I'm increasing the length of my brush stroke. Constantly turning the pencil. I'm going to grab a darker color here in a moment and fix the eyes because they're bothering me. So when done, how are you going to preserve the drawing, if at all? So how I preserve my pastel drawings is a question that I often get, Steve, and I appreciate the question. And the truth is, I don't do anything. The pastels are self-preserving in the sense that aside from them being very delicate medium, you don't actually have to do anything to preserve them aside from storing them properly, which I have a video on, or you frame them behind glass. Other than that, there's not a whole lot you actually need to do to protect your pastel pieces. I have a constantly growing collection of pastel work as I continue to work with them, and I enjoy working with them. And unfortunately, I don't really have the space or the capability of hanging anything in my flat, so I protect mine exactly the way I mentioned in the video on how to store and protect pastel paintings, but I do not spray them with anything. Anybody that says that you need to spray them with anything is wrong, and I do not like the idea of spraying them because it changes the color. If it changes the color even a little bit, that's called changing the color, and I don't like it, and I refuse to do it. You don't have to spray it with anything. Of course, you always have that option. Even if you do spray it, here's the thing. Even if you spray your pastel work, it doesn't mean that you can just, stack them on top of each other. You still have to protect it the same way that I cover in my protecting pastel video. All you essentially do is change the color of it, so why spray it at all? That is my take on it, and people may have their own opinions, but that is my personal opinion on the matter. But I just cover mine in glassine paper, stick it in some foam board, and then it sits there. Because I don't usually get offers for my pastel work. I have occasionally sold a number of pastel paintings, but I don't advertise. I don't actively try to sell it. So Fox looks really good, and it's a really cute reference photo. Well, thank you, Lady Marigold. I'm glad that you like my little fox here. Alright, I'm going to grab that dark gray again. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it. Yeah, I did. The color that I was using the whole time there was 680. So I'm going to grab the dark gray real quick. Do some of the eye here. Get the eye nice and crisp. And this one over here. There we go. Now the eyes show up a little bit. Alright, let's see, what color should I use next? Let's do this white part of the fur. So the first color that I'm going to grab, I think this looks good. What is this? This is 720. This is 720. It's kind of like a lighter gray. It looks like a cooler gray, which I think is fitting considering the weather in this scene here. And I'm just going to pencil in the direction of this fur. Essentially, the rest of this tutorial will be me penciling in the fur. Just so you know. And it's going to continue to be all about pencil stroke direction and length. So those are going to be the key tips for doing fur. And it's all about layers. It's all about layers. We have the foundation of our colors now. Now we're going to use the colors of our pencils to bring out the texture of the fur. And just like the base layers, this stage of the drawing process is also all about layers. Create the base layer of texture, blend it out a little bit, add more texture, blend it out a little bit, add more texture, and you simply do that over and over until you arrive at the result that you wish to be at. The whiskers are going to be the absolute last thing that I do. The fox has very, very thin, reddish black whiskers, and I'm not going to come within a millimeter of doing those until I am totally satisfied with everything right here. Everything right here has to be absolutely perfect before I ever even think about adding the whiskers. In fact, the whiskers are so far away in my mind of adding that that I actually sometimes forget to do it on camera. That's how last the whiskers should be in your mind. So just try to keep them in your mind so you don't forget to do them like I do sometimes. But never ever do them early. I only have Carbothello pencils so far, and I'm wondering if it's better to buy pan pastels or soft pastels next. If you only have the pencils, buy the soft pastels next. I have a full set of pan pastels, and although I think they are lovely, I don't find them even half as useful as the soft pastels. I would say the order in which I think supplies work best is getting the soft pastels first, getting something like this, because you can do a lot with just these. In fact, 99% of all of my landscapes can be done with just these soft pastels without pencils or anything. So I would get those first and then the pencils, but since you already have the pencils, get the soft pastels. And then if you feel like doing larger pieces and you want some of the pan pastels, go ahead and pick some of those up, because the pan pastels are also quite expensive. It's funny, I find them, they're the most expensive, but I find them to be the least useful in terms of how often I want to use them. I kind of maximize the amount of detail I can get with my set of soft pastels before I even reach for my pencils. I like to do as much as I can with my soft pastels before adding anything else to the piece. I'm kind of just jumping all around here to the parts where I feel like I can use this gray. And I can certainly use it in the transition of the fur in the ears here, where the fur kind of transitions to the cream yellow to this kind of soft gray into white. So just adding a few pencil strokes and inside of the ear here for that transitionary color. Also on this side a little bit. And let's do a little bit on the paw. I feel like the edge of this paw is kind of a gray. There we go. Alright, which color should I do next? I'm kind of feeling like grabbing an orange here. So I'm going to grab 675. Let's bring in some of this darker orange, especially around the eyes here. I want to bring in the orange that gives the eyes its shape, kind of the shape of the eye closing, kind of squinting. Getting that anatomy correct around the eyes is very important. Add a little bit down here. Kind of just sprinkle in a bit of this orange. There we go. And let's see here. What color next? Kind of feeling like this gray here. This is a warmer gray. This is a warmer gray here, this 704. A bit darker than the previous gray that I was using. I'm going to see how this looks around the eyes here. This will help me add in a bit of shadow in the darker parts of the fur where the eye is shutting. It's also a great way to control the value in the saturation of the oranges. So if you find yourself, oversaturating your fox here, just use a bit of gray to tone down some of those bright oranges if you happen to go too far with it. It's always helpful. The fur here right by the nose is so short that it's basically just dots, little dots of color. Alright, I think it's good on that color. I need kind of that chocolate brown that I was using previously with the cylinders, with the softer pastels. And I think this might be, yeah, so this is 625, and I'm going to come in here and start adding in some of the texture that, the darker texture that you see sprinkled out about around the nose here. Very, very small amount. This helps bring in the contrast, the texture, and the lighting as well. So this color shows up quite a bit. This is those dark spots in the fur. It's looking so beautiful. Can't believe it looks so good after only a while of painting. Yes, you know, pastels, like I said, they're so quick. They're so quick. And, you know, as I mentioned before, when it comes to creating a good image quickly, it's all about the color choice and the contrast. And really, the only thing making this look good at all, obviously, it's not the time that I put into it, because I've done this quite quickly. It's just the colors and the contrast. And that's all there really is to it. If you can get those two things in your image, the good colors, good contrast, then you're starting off on the right foot. And then you can just take the pencils like I'm doing now, come in here and start finessing your details. Just kind of bring out the subtleties that make the image look real. And in the case of this fox, it's all about the fur texture. You know, just going in there, bringing out those little details in the fur and subtle color changes. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. You don't even have to be able to draw the line art. Just trace the line art, and then tape it off with the masking film, just like I did. And you have nothing. You have nothing holding you back. The colors that I used, I know that I can't call them out by name, but you know, it's really hard to label something like this. So that's the unfortunate part of the pastel tutorials, but you can just take your time and kind of select your colors based on the color chart that I put together there on the reference photo, and that's all there is to it. I hope the tutorial was helpful for those of you getting interested in pastels or already using pastels. And if there's, like I said, if there's anything that I do that you're curious about, don't hesitate to ask. I don't hold anything back, and most of you guys that have been following me for a while or support me over on Patreon, you already know this, that, you know, some people might like to covet their secrets, but I am not a magician. I reveal everything. I don't hold anything back. So anything you guys want to know, I am an open source. I am happy to give you as much information as that I can possibly provide you with. Because the more the world is filled with beautiful work, I think the better off everybody is. So, and I don't need to be the one that creates it. In fact, I think I might enjoy it more if it's somebody that I taught to create it. So, I would love to see your guys' pastel work. So if you ever do anything that I inspire and you post it on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, you know, don't feel like you're being a pest by tagging me or asking questions or anything like that. In fact, most of my mornings are Like, I wake up, my morning routine is usually answering all the questions that I receive in the middle of the night. And that's kind of what I spend my mornings doing, so. Yeah, I think the fox is starting to come together pretty well. It's funny, it actually doesn't look all that bad, even though this back part is just blended nonsense. It's not really any detail or anything in it. But that is just the product of good colors and contrast. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying today's pastel tutorial. And if you haven't already, just give the video a thumbs up so that I know that you did enjoy it, or that you are enjoying it. And also let me know that people are enjoying it enough to justify doing more of these, because I absolutely love to do them. And come back and leave me a comment, or you can message me on Facebook or something with a suggestion for the next pastel tutorial. You know, whether you want me to do another animal, some more wildlife, maybe a domestic pet like a dog or a cat or something. Whatever you want to learn, you just let me know. You have taught me more than anyone. You, my friend, have helped me become so much more efficient and have given me a better understanding in art as well. I still have ways to go, though. Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate that, and nothing makes me more happy to hear, really. I love that I am able to inspire anyone to create, and you have been a wonderful friend during your growth as an artist, and I've enjoyed seeing your work and teaching you. Thank you, Jeff. I'm glad that you are enjoying the tutorial. Yes, Wendy, I do my best. I try to do everything. Try to do it all. All right, let's see here. Let's maybe switch up this color. I'm kind of feeling like grabbing white. So let's grab some white here. Let's bring out the highlight of the fur now. Let's bring back the white, because it's missing. Actually, I feel like I would have been better off blending before. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Let me just, I'm going to grab a clean sponge, and I'm going to just blend off the texture. This is going to soften the overall texture, but it's going to leave room to add that depth in the next layer. So I'm just brushing in the direction of the pencil strokes, very, very, very lightly. Just just barely touching it. This helps a lot. Kind of just get rid of that grainy pencil look. So if your fur is looking a little stiff, just give it a soft blend, and that will soften it right back up. Don't go crazy with it though. You don't want to blend the colors away. Of course, the pencils don't blend as easily as the soft pastels do, so you don't have too much to worry about in that regard, but still want to be delicate with it. There we go. Yeah, I think that softened it up quite a bit. Let's jump back to the white now. I think this layer of white will make the face be almost complete. Like I said, you can almost endlessly play with your details here, layering your colors one over the other and just bringing out the texture in a million different ways. And you can do it for as little or as long as you want, depending on the level of realism that you're trying to approach here. Like I said, I'm not going for hyper-realism in any regard, because this is meant to be a beginner tutorial. A very simple line art. There's nothing complicated when it comes to the line art here, at least not what I can see. And the coloring process has been narrowed down to two essential necessities, which is color choice and contrast. That's the keys here. Don't forget that. Color and contrast. Don't skip ahead too quickly. Don't try to get to the pencils too fast, because there's a lot of color and contrast that you can do with just the soft pastels. So I would recommend for anybody that might be new to pastels, that are, brave enough to give this tutorial a try, which I don't think you have to be all that brave to try it. Just don't rush to the pencils. Get your color and contrast down first, and then the pencils will just be the fun and easy part. Have I decided on the project for Patreon yet? Yes, I have, Wendy. I appreciate you asking. It took me a while to find the reference photo that I liked. I ended up buying one because I couldn't find anything free online that I liked. So I will have that project posted very, very soon, so thank you for asking. And it's going to be a still life project, bit of pears, if I recall correctly. Yeah, I think it's pears on a table sitting on a cloth, or something very close to that. I kind of forget what the reference photo looks like. I had a very busy weekend. In fact, since I paid for the reference photo, I might as well do a pastel tutorial of it as well here on YouTube. So I'll do the colored pencil tutorial on Patreon, I do the pastel one. So maybe it will be my next project. Some still life for the next pastel tutorial. Now the fur over here is going over the shadow, but I want to add the texture of the shadow in first before going putting that fur over top of that. Get the ear hair in there now. And let's do the ear hair over here. Alright, there we go. Now I think for the rest of the face, let's switch colors really quick. I'm going to go back to a medium gray here. This is the 708 gray. Add a little bit of texture to the mouth here so it doesn't look so artificial. And let's deepen some of these shadows around the face right here. Maybe darken up some of the shadows in the fur around the eyes. Let's see here. Bring in some of these darker colors just a bit more. One thing right here a little bit, and up around the eyebrows, add a few strokes of the darker hair coming through, a little bit of the shadow underneath, and over by the ears, let's just darken up some of that fur, put in some texture there. Like I said, you can endlessly kind of feather in some color and some texture everywhere you want till you get it looking exactly the way that you want. And I'm going to grab a seemingly odd color, but if you kind of unfocus your eyes a little bit, you see it. And this is kind of this subtle clay rose color, which is 642. Kind of a purple color. So I'm going to add a little bit of purple in here into the fur. Clay rose is one of my all-time used colors because I swear it shows up in everything. Clay rose is like the color that exists in every object. I don't know what it is about it, but I swear I see it everywhere. Maybe it's my computer monitor. I think clay rose shows up everywhere just because it's my computer monitor color is all messed up. I don't know, but I see it everywhere. But I take pictures of my work, so nobody's like, "Hey, I think you're using a little bit too much clay rose." Nobody said that to me yet, so I think I'm good for now. But I swear I see it. the amount of white that I used here brightened the whole face up a bit. So I need to come in with some of my darker colors and get some contrast, bring some contrast back to the drawing here. A little bit of over here. Don't want to forget about the paw. Paw kind of showing up a little bit. There we go. Let's add some clay rose to this part. And I think I'm going to use it in this dark shadow back here. Just add a little bit of fur texture there. And maybe a little bit right in here. I'm going to start adding some of the texture to the back of our little fox here. Try to map out the direction of the fur with this color here, and then I won't have to worry about doing it with any of the other colors. I can just kind of follow my guide. So that's what I'm doing here. So kind of curls down like this, slowly fans out, curls like that. So don't worry about that line. I know it shows up real bad. Let's go with, let's see. I'm trying to think. I think I'm going to go with this color here. Yeah, I think I started with this color actually. This is the 685. And I'm going to come right here, start adding some of this texture. And this is kind of a yellowish orange. Start bringing in some more colors and texture to the back here. Every time I hear the elevator, I'm worried that my wife is going to come through the door at any moment. And I'm going to have to call it a day for the stream because it is her birthday. And as much as I love all you guys, I love my wife a little bit more. Sorry if it hurts your feelings, but it's the truth. And if you get angry, my life is fine. If my wife gets angry, my life is less fine. So, priorities. Another very important tip for every artist, every inspiring artist out there. Alright, let's see here. What other color? You know, I like this cream color. As a future animal, I would love to see a lynx with the cute black ears, tufts, or Siberian husky with the gorgeous blue eyes, or something, sometimes one blue eye, one brown eye. I like those suggestions, Lady Marigold. There was, speaking of a lynx, I know it's not a lynx, but there's this cat, this African wild cat that it starts with an S. It's like a server or something like that. Super gorgeous cat. I've never heard of them before until I came across it randomly. And they just have this really, really unique fur pattern and color and ears. They have these really cool ears. Like I said, I can't quite remember the name of them, but serval. Yes, that's it. Serval. Oh, they're so cool. They're the only cat in the world that has both stripes and spots, or something along those lines. I think that's what I heard, but they are super cool. Yeah, they're super cool. Alright, what other colors can I bring in here? I need to bring in some oranges. So let's grab 680 and bring in some orange. And I'm going to go ahead and add the flyaways coming off cute little fox here, and fill in the rest of the blank paper that's kind of fallen in there. And I'm really just treating this a lot like grass. I'm not doing any obvious pattern, kind of letting the fur just kind of come off. I'm keeping the general direction of what I mapped out, but for the most part just kind of coming off the back a little bit. Alright, before adding any more texture there, I'm going to just do a soft blend. There we go. Alright, now I want to switch back. I forget what color it was. I think it was this one. I think it was. Let me see if I remember the number. 105. That was not the color. What was it? It wasn't this one. Maybe it was this. Was it this color? No. What color was that? Oh, you know what? It must have been this one. That is literally the 105 color that I just picked up. Okay, let's try. No, it can't be this one. Can't be this. Is it 692? Did I ever use 692? That's way too yellow. I don't remember which color it was. So I'll just use the 680 again. You need to come in here with a little bit of more darker color. Let's see. I don't want to go too dark too quick, so I think I'll try the 620. See what that looks like. Yeah, that's slightly darker orange. So I'll just scrape in a little bit of texture here in the back. And there we go. I'm going to grab that clay rose again because that color is just fantastic. Add a little bit more contrast to the fur in the back here. That I keep calling it clay rose, it's 642, by the way. A little bit more down here behind the ear. Maybe a little here, just to balance out the contrast a little bit. Let's see here. Let's go for a darker color. So I'm gonna grab a brown, kind of a medium brown. Any problems sharpening your carbothellos with the helix? Actually, so the helix worked really well for a while, but I've been having some issues with mine recently, and I'm not sure if it's from dropping it, because I did drop it once, or the blades are dull. I can't really tell, but it doesn't really want to sharpen anything at all right now. I'm gonna possibly buy a new one very soon, but I've been struggling to get my pencils sharpened. It worked fantastic for like the longest time, and then one day it just stopped, and I'm not sure if there's any correlation between it stopping and me dropping it, because I don't remember when I dropped it in relationship to when it stopped working as good. So yeah, there's that, but it worked really awesome for like the longest time, and then just seemed to quit on me. So I'm not sure what the issue is, but that's a good question, because pencil sharpeners are different. They're definitely a hard thing to find that works really well for any extended period of time. Anything with a blade kind of has, its failure built into it. Okay, so I am quite satisfied with the way the fox is looking. I think I'm going to do just a last little bit of soft blending here, and add in a drop shadow, quick little drop shadow there, and I think I'm going to call it done. I kind of want to continue working on that beyond the stream and just kind of play around with the details a little bit more. But as far as the tutorial itself, I think I can safely call this a successful tutorial. I covered every detail in which I approach this particular kind of drawing. Introduced the use of masking film, talked to you about the importance of the right colors and contrast. So I'm just going to add the drop shadow really quick with a bit of dark gray here, and call it a day. Do a last little bit of blending of this drop shadow as well. Just come in here like this. If you are new to Pastels and you enjoyed this tutorial, again, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up so that I know that you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a comment of any suggestions that you'd like me to cover for future tutorials. Don't forget, I also have a Intro to Pastel course. In the video description, I have the line art, the reference photo in the description, and all that fun stuff. Even after the stream is done, if you have any questions, you can always comment those, and I'll do my best to get to them. Answer any of the questions that you have. And then, aside from that, after I blend out this drop shadow here, that's going to be it. So, nice little soft drop shadow right underneath the fox. I'm going to set it in the scene. I hope that you guys had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun for me, and like I said, I know that I left out the whiskers, okay, I'm aware of this, but I want to continue working on this, so I'm actually not going to untape it. I know that's the very satisfying part of the pastel work, but I want to take this piece a little bit farther beyond the tutorial of today. And for that reason, I'm not going to untape it, and I'm not going to put in the whiskers, because I want to add some more to the face. So thank you all again so much for coming by and hanging out, and I will see you next time. Take care. Peace.